Tweet and Talk number 21. Follow along with us on our Google Hangout, bit.ly/TweetTalk21, and you're obviously here if you're seeing this. Also on Twitter, we're back channeling with the hashtag EduMatch. This topic is that we are going to be talking about the parent-teacher balance. So we have an awesome panel and awesome discussion ahead of us. So I just wanted to go ahead and introduce our moderators. We have Valerie Lewis and Dorian Roberts. So I'm going to kick it over to you all.
Hi guys, good evening. All right, so tonight we are talking about the parent-teacher balance. And so some of us here on panel are both parents and we are both educators in the system. And so we know that a lot of our decisions of what we do are driven by our children. And so to start us off, I have my son with me, Carson, who's a third grader, and Dorian has her son, David, who's a senior this year.
No, he's a sophomore.
Sophomore. Oh, so he's got 2 more years to go.
Yes, ma'am.
So we figured to get us going into this talk, we figured let's hear from the kids' perspective about what it feels like, the good, the bad, and the ugly, about having a parent who also so happens to be a teacher. So we'll let Carson start off, and then we'll ping it over to David, and then we'll let them go, because I'm sure they'd rather not hang out with educators or their parents on the weekend. Carson, please tell us, how do you feel about having a mom who happens to be a teacher? So you could tell us the good things and the bad things. Look into the camera. Speak loud.
The good things, because my mom could help me with my homework. And she could give me extra homework, so I can get smarter.
And what's the bad thing about having a mommy that's a teacher?
Because sometimes she might not help me with my homework, and sometimes she could make me rewrite my sentences.
And that's a bad thing. You don't like to rewrite your sentences. All right. Well, thank you, Carson, for joining us. Say bye to everybody.
Bye.
All right, David, we're going to ping it over to you.
Hello.
What's the good thing about having a parent as a teacher?
The good thing is she's very helpful, like on papers and stuff. Whenever I need to study, I can ask her. She can help me to study. And if I have a problem with a teacher, she just comes to the rescue and kind of, helps me with the teacher and talks to her and gives me advice for like the next week and etc.
Bad thing.
The bad thing, at times, is we're both very strong-headed people. We can be very stressful and, I don't think she can see the students' perspective anymore, no longer.
Thank you, David, for your thoughts and opinions about your mother. Thank you, David, seriously, for your opinion. And he's correct. We're both very strong-headed, opinionated people. And, yes, quickly. I would like to continue on and ask the panel, what do you guys think about where is the teacher balance? Now that you've heard from our children, what do you think the teacher balance is? How do you deal with the teacher balance? Anybody who wants to chime in?
All right.
Hey, I'll go ahead and chime in. I wish I had known I could have allowed my daughter to stay, but I kicked her out of the house. It would have been great to have her share her thoughts about what the good and the bad is in terms of having a mom who's a teacher. She's in the 3rd grade. I honestly don't know what she would say. I think she would say one of the bad things is how I harp on her about the homework. I don't know if she would say that's a good thing. You know, did you read for 15 minutes today? Did you practice your multiplication facts today? You know, in fact, I'm really passionate about digital citizenship, and she's on this phone kick right now. She really wants her own phone, so she's got 2, and that's why I'm here tonight, because I find this topic really interesting as a parent, also as an educator. So she's on this big kick right now where she wants to take my old iPhone 4, she wants me to reactivate it so that she can text and she can do all these things. And I said, well, we're going to have a long conversation about that, because I think she's too young, first of all. She's 8 years old. So today I said, you know, what is a citizen? And she said, a citizen is a person. And I said, okay, you know, a person who does what? And, you know, she really couldn't answer that question. So I have a long way to go in terms of being a teacher and playing that dual role to teach her not only about citizenship, because she apparently isn't getting that at school, but also digital citizenship. And as she was leaving my place tonight, she says, where's my phone? I lost my phone. I said, that's exactly why I'm not activating that phone, because you're not ready for it. So, and then she was telling me about something that one of her the teacher aide did in the classroom. So my immediate reaction is, well, I'm going to email the teacher, because I want to know some more information about this. And no, Mom, no, please don't email the teacher. So I think, you know, that would be, from her perspective, a bad thing, that, you know, I'm so maybe hypersensitive about what she says. And she kind of wants me to stay out of it, I think, a little bit. But on the good side of things, I asked her what she wants to be, and she wants to be a teacher. She says that when she grows up, she wants to be a 3rd grade teacher. So we'll see how long that lasts. But you know, for me right now, it's about balancing. You know, what is she learning at school, and how can I supplement that education as a parent to maybe expose her to things that she might not be getting at school. So that's my 2 cents.
Sounds great. Tammy.
My daughter is currently a senior in college, and she spent her entire 13 years of K-12 on my campus. So not only was I a teacher parent, I was a co-teacher parent. And one of the things we had to learn how to balance was making sure that the other teachers didn't just send her to me when there was an issue. You know, if you would call another parent, then you should be calling another parent. And I'm not the only parent in this family, so here's her dad's number. So if you would call Susie's dad, then call Rebecca's dad. Or please don't stop me in the middle of the hallway and try to have a parent conference with me in the middle of the hallway. So those things were things that we definitely had to balance and had to deal with. And I was not necessarily the most liked teacher at the time on her campus. I was the media specialist, and I had to deal with overdue books and, you know, treat things right, and I was that person for a while in her career, and she had to deal with that as well. So it was much more than just dealing with her educational level. It was also dealing with the social side of mom being on campus, which was a huge issue for her for most of her middle school years. And, you know, her comment, what I finally allowed her to say was, well, at least you don't have to live with her. So, yeah, striking that balance is huge, and it does get better. Those of you with little children, it does get better.
Okay, great. Why don't we go right next to Charlie? Charlie, I understand you have some endpoint reviews.
Yeah, so Tammy just segued into what I was about to say nicely. I have a young son. He's going to be 2 years old in January, so I haven't had the experiences that a lot of you with the older children have had yet. But it was funny. I actually, before I even knew about this chat, I just wrote a blog about the juggling act between being a parent and a teacher. And for me right now, it's just the time. I mean, I'm still relatively a new teacher. I just went full time this year for the first time. I was a part-time teacher for the past 4 years, and everything that comes with being a teacher, right? You try to give your, and in the blog I called them my kids and my child, like my students as my kids, and I love my child more than I could ever put into words, but I love my kids too, and I want to make sure that I give my kids everything that I have. And how often does the time that I have for my child fall a little short of where I want that to be? And you know, coaching, sometimes I coach football in the fall, I coach lacrosse in the spring, and I'm constantly doing math in my head when I leave work. Okay, it's 5 o'clock. It takes me this long to get home. I should be home by this time, depending on the traffic, which means I'll see him before dinner, or I'll get home before he goes to bed. And oftentimes there's, I don't know, probably Monday through Friday sometimes I won't get to see him until the weekend. So what I really try to do is I try to make the amount of time that I have, the quality over the quantity, I guess you would say. So everything that I try to do with him, when I do get to see him, I try to make like an event. You know, like we're going to the supermarket, but I try to get him like super pumped up to go to the supermarket and to spend that time together. And it's actually gotten to the point where when we do spend time together, like just I don't know, an hour and a half ago, I stood up and I said, all right, I got to go to the bathroom, and he goes, I come. I was like, all right, because like he's starting to really value the time that we do have. And that makes me happy, but at the same time that always almost makes me sad also, because he's valuing the time that we have means that he's realizing the limited amount of time that we have right now at the beginning of a school year, daddy being a new teacher, daddy not getting home every night before I go to bed. So I'm still learning how to juggle this and how to give him everything that he deserves and give my students everything that they deserve at the same time, as somebody who aspires to be an inventive teacher, a cutting-edge teacher. I was discussing this with somebody that I work with last week, and he actually shared, he has young children also, and he shared a really good point that I think I'm going to start doing. When he gets home, he goes into his child's room, or they're already sleeping usually, and he puts his face next to his son's face, and he takes a selfie, and he sends it to his wife the next morning. So when he gets up, his wife can say, see, you know, Daddy came in to see you last night when he got home, and, you know, if he's going to be home that night, he'll see you later. If not, you know, he'll see you tomorrow, or whatever the case may be. And I was like, that's so simple, but it's ingenious, you know, to just let that child know that, yeah, I didn't see you today, but when I got home, you were the first thing that I checked on. So it's really hard, and for me, it's more like pulling on my heartstrings than, you know, him being mad that I'm tough on him with homework because I'm a teacher at this point. It's just building that bond, and as I said in my blog, like being his superhero. Like, do I see him enough to be that for him?
Yes, thank you so much for sharing, Charlie. Zena, you have some input, things you want to share.
So, hey, I'm Zena Brown. I've been in education 25 years. I have 4 children in my household. So I have, what are they? 4, 6, 8, 4, yep, 4, 6, 8, and then I have a junior in college as well. And so I think for me, I just asked my son what was the hard part, and he said it was I am gone like long hours. I've gone from being in the classroom to central office to now supporting teachers in their schools. And then some of it, for me personally, some of my environments are really challenging, and so you have to decompress before you come into the house to make sure you're empathetic to your kids' needs, which may not be as deep a level as some of the students that you've been interacting with during the day. And so for my daughter, that button not being on the shirt is a crisis, even though it really kind of pales in comparison to some of the things you have to juggle. So there are times when I tell people it's my extension office, where I sit in my car like 20 minutes before I come in the house, because I have to remember these kids are going to listen to me when I give directions. These kids aren't going to have the same crisis. And so it's just that adjustment in your personal being that you have to make sometimes before you come back and interact with your own family.
Thank you, Zena, for sharing that. You know, Charlie, we appreciate that. I think everyone on the panel is like, oh, that's such a sweet story, and just makes us cognizant. But I think also what Zena mentioned here about decompressing when you come home. Sometimes I find myself coming in from a days of work on edge when all my kids want to do is show me all of the things that happened at school, and I'm like, please just give me 5 minutes, and I'm locking my bedroom door. Just go away for a few minutes, and all they want to do is talk to mommy, and all I want to do is just push them away. And so there's that balance of being with kids at school, but then needing to be present for your own kids, which allows me to segue. We have Brian, who put a wonderful question here in the Q&A about how do you handle it when your kid feels like you spend more time with your students than with them? So, Dean, I know we haven't heard from you yet. Is that a question you may want to jump in and ask or answer? So Brian's question again, how do you handle it when your personal children feel like you've spent more time with other people's children and not given them enough?
It's funny you mention that because my youngest is now a grad student, and I was texting him. He's been a part of all this, and realizing our kids are always, especially in technology, there are, well, guinea pigs, if you will, when we're trying something at home before we bring it out to class. And he said that, you know, just sharing that, he says, I know it. He said he thought it was kind of cool because I know the lesson that you're doing the next day. And when the kids talk about what's happening, I already went through it the night before, even though I may not be in that grade and be a part of that. So I don't know. He said it was from a standpoint as in pride. And it's just adding to that. It's like we're in an instant access society, and trying to get people to slow down and think, whether it be parent and teachers, take a moment to go to the source, the student, rather than we want the answer right away. And that's challenging to do.
Anyone else would like to chime in on that one?
I mean, real quick, Charlie, what you were saying about the selfie, I think that is just precious, and your child will really appreciate that, I think, as he gets older. I leave before my daughter is awake in the morning, so my commute is an hour, and I call her every day now on my way into work, and just, you know, say good morning to her, and just let her know that I'm thinking of her, and ask her, you know, what the day for her, you know, does she have gym today, or library, or art, or, you know, and just having that quick conversation every single morning just to reiterate that, you know, mommy loves you. And like you said, our job never ends. Teaching is very unique in that sense. Like, it's not a 9-to-5 thing, and, you know, if you're dedicated to this profession, which I think we all are, like you mentioned earlier about wanting to be the best teacher you can be, you know, we want to be the best parents we can be as well. So it's one of those things that I personally have had to make a real conscious effort to, you know, kind of disconnect a bit more to show my child that she is my #1 priority. I mean, family first. I work in a district that has that mentality, thank God. So I don't do as many Twitter chats. You know, I don't blog nearly as much as I, you know, want to or should. You know, I make that conscious choice to spend time with her and, you know, cook dinner with her. You know, we did that tonight. We made cookies, and it was, to be honest, it was getting a little out of control. You know, when and I've talked to people before about this. You know, about just taking a step back and saying, you know, is that hour Twitter chat really worth it? And I just came to the point where I said, no, it's not. It's not worth sacrificing time, which is so limited with my own child. So but that being said, I really thought this topic was interesting, and I wanted to be a part of this conversation to hear from other parents, maybe how they're handling the balance. But that's been working for me so far. You know, I've blinked my eyes and she's 8. I just can't believe how fast it's going. And, you know, I think 10 years from now she'll be off to college, and a decade is going to fly. You know, Tammy, you're shaking your head. I mean, the older you get, the faster time goes, and I can't take that for granted. And it's time is not slowing down, and I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss any more, you know. So I think it's just coming home at night and trying to leave work at work. I mean, that's, you really you come to the point where you have to do that. You know, can this wait till tomorrow? And it can. Oftentimes it can. So I just wanted to comment, and Charlie, I think you're doing a great job. So I've been doing this for 15 years, and I still have that desire to want to be the best teacher, but, you know, you're going to blink your eyes, and you don't, like I said, you don't want to miss anything with your own kids. It's too important.
Charlie, you had some input you want to say after?
Yeah, I think, I don't remember who it was before on the side chat mentioned that the selfie was a great use of technology, and then Jen just mentioned calling home after her long trip into work. Depending on when I get on the road, my commute's also between 50 minutes and an hour and 15 minutes sometimes. So my wife and I, with her hectic schedule at home with the baby and my crazy schedule at work, what we try to do sometimes is like a lunchtime FaceTime. So to kind of go with what he was saying before, proper use of technology. You know, again, my son's going to be 2, and he's, you know, doesn't know how to use a phone, thank God, which means we're keeping it away from him enough. But, like, you know, during the FaceTime, it usually ends with him hitting the red button. But still, like, we saw each other, and he knows, I hope he knows and can internalize, you know, Daddy took some time at work to make sure that he saw me today. So I just, you know, when Jen mentioned that and before the comment was made about proper use of technology, I just kind of wanted to throw that in there.
And Tammy, to go with what Jen talked about, how the time flies, and I know that you have kids that have gone off to college. Would you like to just jump in and speak about that, yeah, and share your experiences?
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, she's a senior in college, and the time it flies so quickly, and it's really important that our children, our own children, not our kids. I try to distinguish my child, my kids. It is really important for our own children to know that we are there for them first, and it's very hard because we all of us here are here because we want to be the very best in both worlds that we can be. And even those of us here tonight that don't have children of our own want to be the very best we can be in every world that we're in. And that balance alone is difficult. So I know that as my daughter got older, there were more things that were easier for me to participate in. You know, she became a band child and wound up being drum major, and I was able to be a band mom for 5 years. And so I really got, we had a 30-minute commute each way, and the phrase we had was what was said in the car stayed in the car.
All right.
So she could talk to me about anything, and I couldn't get upset because I had to drive. And she did.
Love it, love it.
And so there were some very deep conversations that were had in that vehicle to and from school. So Charlie, at some point, that long commute that you don't like now, you're going to love one day because you're going to have a child there with you, and you're going to be able to get into all of those details that you think you're going to miss out on. You'll have time for it. You will, because you're going to set it aside.
Thank you so much, Tammy. We're going to round it up, and this is the last question that we have. Ms. Sarah and the rest of the panel, we are considering having a part 2 to this because Twitter is just really blowing up with questions, and we want everybody to feel included. We knew this was going to be a hot button topic, and we want to definitely keep it going with a part 2. lastly, my question is, where do teacher parents go for support? Where's our support system? Does anybody have any ideas, suggestions? I thought of several things myself. Tweet and talk, EduMatch After Dark, whatever it may be. What's out there? What's on your minds? Where do we go for teacher parent support?
I think for me, a lot of it is when I was in the classroom, it's other coworkers. So as weird as it sounds, I was in a department where over the 15 years I was in it, we had 30 kids. Between myself and all my coworkers, there were 30 kids born in our department. So it was a lot of sharing, being patient with each other, helping each other out in terms of support, and separating ourselves as parents in the teacher role, and even when we had to talk with our child's teacher, of being sensitive because you know how difficult their job was, but also being really thorough because you knew what the expectation was in terms of teaching your child and not letting things go through the cracks. And so my saying now is that I moved from being a helicopter parent to being more of a drone parent. So I'm there at the high level, I'm still seeing what's going on, but I'm not in the teacher asking questions all the time, and just letting them know I'm confident and I'm supportive and appreciative of all that you do with my child.
And I know for me, I'll jump in and say my PLN is definitely a support group. I know that, there have been times where I felt like I just wanted to wring my son's teacher's neck. And I had to calm my nerves and remember that in my earlier stages as a teacher, I wasn't as proficient as I consider myself now. And so I had to remember those humble beginnings and say, hey, she may not be where I think she should be, but perhaps she's growing. So I had to think about it, and I had to woosah, and I had to vent to my PLN. And, they were a great support group. They offered up suggestions. They gave me, well, maybe you should approach her in this manner, or maybe show her this, or maybe have Carson do this, and maybe she'll kind of see it from your perspective and make things all the better. But my PLN has definitely been a support group for me. Anyone else?
I'm going to connect. I'll follow right with you, Valerie, on that. Back early in my teaching career, I went to other teachers. And the easy way was to go to other like-minded people, because then you'll find the answer you're looking for. But now it's so sweet, just like this, meeting a whole bunch of you that I've never met before across the country, sharing perspectives, and between blogs, podcasts, YouTube subscriptions. There's different ways to gather those resources that I think make you a better teacher and a better parent. And then adding on to Tammy's, and Tammy can relate to this, now when your kid graduates from college, it's a weird transition from like direct parent to facilitator parent. But it's all good.
And Jen, I think you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo your sentiments about a PLN being a place where you can go for support, because it's just, I'm so thankful that I am a connected educator and initially met a lot of people on Twitter, and then the professional learning network has truly become a personal learning network, because I'm very good friends with, there's two individuals in particular who are in my PLN who are both moms, and one has two children who are older than my child, but I can go to her for questions, and she gives me incredible advice and support. She talks about how conversations in the car, like Tammy mentioned, can be so meaningful, especially, my daughter's 8, so she's starting to ask some very difficult questions, and I'm thinking, how do I answer? There's no guide out there for parents, so I talk to people who have experience, and they say in the car sometimes it's better for the kids because they're not looking at you and they can ask you these questions. And so I think the PLN, for sure, I just wanted to reiterate it, and now I've gone on to Voxer with some of those people, and just having like those private Voxer conversations have been so helpful and meaningful. And we're not always talking about our profession, we're talking about our roles as parents. So for the connected educators who are watching this tonight, I mean, reach out to those people who have become truly your good friends. And it's like, geographically speaking, I wish we were closer together, but they're very close personal friends of mine despite the distance. So I'm really fortunate for them. That's another reason why, you know, establishing a PLN is so meaningful. That being said, like Zena was saying, there are people in my building that are also parents that I can go to for support and advice. So I'm fortunate in that aspect. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you so much, everyone, for contributing. As we said, we look forward in the new year of having a teacher, parent, Where's the Balance Part 2 conversation, and I'm going to throw the rest and close out with Sarah.
All right, what a great conversation tonight. Just wanted to thank everyone for being part of this awesome discussion. Thank you so much to our fantastic moderators, Dorian and Valerie, and I am typing something right this second so I can announce it. All right, so we are going to, there we go, bam. We are going to continue part 2 of this conversation. It's already set up, so you can mark your calendars right now. It will be on January 10th, 2016, and you can access that at bit.ly/tweettalk30. So hopefully you all will join us back for that conversations. And this podcast will be available as an iTunes podcast. You can check out our previous episodes at bit.ly/edumatchpodcast. Oh, and I see that Charlie says that it's the day after his birthday, January 10th. So that's awesome. Happy early birthday, Charlie. And the Twitter chat is going to be storified, and it's going to be available in just a few minutes. So come back next week. We are going to be talking with moderator Stephen Hughes. He's going to be talking about teachers teaching teachers. So we are looking for panelists for that. So just check it out, bit.ly/tweettalk22. Hopefully we will have you back for that. Anyone can be a panelist, so just leave a comment on the Google Hangout page, and we will definitely add you on. So we have a brand spanking new Facebook. Check that out, bit.ly/edumatchfacebook. Also now on Instagram with edu_match as the Twitter handle, or I'm sorry, the Instagram handle. So everyone, thank you so much again for joining us tonight and having this conversation. Looking forward to part 2. So everyone have a fantastic night.